And welcome to another VSA Capital video blog of the companies that I visited whilst I was out in Mexico this summer. And today, delighted to have Alex Langer, the CEO of Sierra Madre, which I went to visit actually at the start of my second week. Alex, hi, how are you?
I'm great, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Now, look, the good thing about Sierra Madre in your mind was it was the closest to Mexico City. It was really quite a short drive. But just
Yeah,
to quickly,
location is pretty helpful.
yeah, no, and it does make it a lot easier. Um, Maybe you'd like to just quickly explain where you are located and why the geology is so interesting there. I mean, I noticed one thing when I woke up in the morning, the view from where I was staying was a rather large volcano. So I guess you can also tell us a little bit of it's around the volcanic activity, which of course is a lot of Mexico is like that. But why don't you just give an introduction to the mine like that, and then we'll go through my little tour.
Sounds great. Yeah. So just to remind everybody, the La Guitarra Silver and Gold Mine is located actually just outside of Mexico City, as you mentioned. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, including traffic, which there definitely is some traffic. But in terms of location, it does get much better. There's a toll road all the way to Mexico City. There's power, almost ample water, sometimes too much, and a dedicated workforce, about 20,000 people that live within the project boundary. So in terms of location and what you're looking for, really quite fortunate. And of course, as you mentioned, pretty big volcano not too far away. So it's a lot of the feeder systems that make these mid to low sulfidation systems, which La Guitarra is, and you can see that all across Mexico. So for us, it's predominantly silver, but pretty close on gold. 60/40 traditionally is the split between silver and gold, and we don't have any other base metals, so that's why I don't think it's really a mid sulfidation. It's more of low sulfidation, which is great. So easy metallurgy, processing has gone really, really well, and we're in a great location and lots of upside as well. That's a big volcano. It has a huge amount of basalt that's kind of scoured the whole area. So there's quite a bit of plant cover and things like that. But wherever there's holes in the basalt, which is only a couple million years old in geological terms, that's really quite young. We see veining material everywhere. So as much as we do love the production profile and the fact we're generating income, it's really the exploration potential that drew us to La Guitarra.
Yeah, and look, the mine is what I describe as a pretty classic um, gold and silver mine in Mexico. In as much as you're underground mining, you've got a process plant that is pretty similar to everybody else's. To be honest with you, you're making a nice concentrate, which you're then selling on, so you don't have to worry too much about that. It's obviously been there for quite a while. It's all proven and trusted and works. As you say, a big local force. And I went down into the mine on the main site and went underground, saw all of that. But one of the interesting things you just touched on there is obviously the exploration capabilities. We then actually got in a car, and it was about half an hour drive actually, all the way to your second mining site. I mean, it's so. I mean, maybe just talk through the upside of that.
Yeah, it's a big project. It's about 25,000 hectares. It costs us, $1 million US a year just to hold the land because it is such a large piece of property. So strike length potential there is about 15 kilometers by 4 kilometers. And the two areas you're talking about are La Guitarra, where we started mining and where the plant is located, and then also Coloso. So Coloso is a newer underground mine that was opened in 2013, 2014 by First Majestic. And it's a very modern portal. You can drive in massive trucks and access is excellent. And it's also where our third mine that we're going to hopefully put online here before the end of the year, Nazareno, is located. So those two are connected. So currently we just drive, I think it's, 2-3 kilometer drive on surface over to the plant. So about 2/3 of our production will be coming from La Guitarra and a third from Coloso. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. So we call that the West District. That's where that's where pretty much all the resources currently are, just under 50 million ounces of all categories of silver equivalent. And then it's the eastern portion that gets us quite exciting. So La Guitarra, I don't know if you had a chance to see all the old workings, but we've kind of gone through it. And there's 800 old workings at site, including some major mines. Mina de Agua had over 10,000 workers during its peak. This used to be known as the jewel of the Spanish crown. It was at some points the largest producer of silver and gold in all of Mexico, in the whole district. So it was all concentrated on the East District. That's where we're quite excited. The El Rincon mine is another, that's probably the last one that shut down in 1937. The head grade there was 6.5 grams gold and 860 grams silver. So spectacular grade. That's the prize. That's what we're going to be looking for. The whole area is also permitted. So we're just going through some exploration work, hiring up our staff, and we'll be looking to drill kind of next quarter two of next year. So we're quite excited for that. We budgeted 20 to 25,000 meters of drilling. The dollar goes quite a long ways down there, so we do get some really good value. But I think we're going to have some exceptional results, hopefully, if all goes well, and the targets just keep coming. We're about 60 kilometers of vein material now at surface that we've identified.
And I mean, I think one of the important points again that I picked up on my tour is that, I mean, first of all, we all know that Mexico is a huge silver mining district, and obviously now gold is becoming increasingly important. But it's in the genes of the local population, and actually now with Shineborn as the first female president there, I think she is more pro mining. There's still been no permits for open pit mines, but she's not saying no to it either. So the general geopolitical, should we say, situation out there is definitely looking a lot better, isn't it?
I would agree with that. Absolutely. So we were quite fortunate. We were grandfathered in when we went to make an acquisition. We wanted a fully permitted underground mine, and that's what we have here. So we're kind of ahead of the curve there. But you're absolutely right. The investment thesis in Mexico has gotten quite a bit better. We've seen some permits come through. We're seeing a lot of capital now coming back into Mexico, which is good. And you're absolutely correct. I expect to see some of these open pits that have been waiting for a while to get the permits. Chatting with some of my contemporaries down there, some of the bigger mining companies, they're seeing brownfields projects that were once in production, a little bit quicker towards getting permits, things like that, and newer ones just taking a little bit longer. But what's great about Mexico again is 17% of the GDP comes from mining. Such a huge amount of work is associated with mining. Ourselves, small little mine, but we have 300 people. If you go to site at any day, whether consultants or union workers or employees, and they say in Mexico it's about a 6-7 to 1 benefit. So in the area, I don't know if you get a chance to go, but there's a bunch of new restaurants and hotels, and it's been amazing. And the local government, the state government, which is Mexico City, they had us over to the Congress about 2 weeks ago, and thanking us, and it's been great. So really huge economic boon, at least in the area we're in. And I think in all of Mexico, we're going to start to see hopefully some permits come through. And as long as you're doing the right work, you're doing the environmental, everything properly, and you have the locals on side, you can get things done, which is great.
Actually, with the silver price above 44 and the gold price above 3,700, it's probably even higher percentages than that, because they're obviously getting a benefit from it as well as the fact that you are. So sort of happy days
Absolutely.
for everybody.
It is, yeah.
So you touched there actually on some sort of, there being quite a lot of other sites, brownfield sites around, etc. I mean, you have a lot of exploration capability. So there's plenty of organic expansion that you can do where you are. But are you keeping a little bit of an eye open? Maybe there's a transaction to be done here, or a transaction there. And we know what these Canadian miners are like. They're listed on the list. Their prices going up. Talk us through that, Alex.
Yeah, we've never been shy about admitting that. So I really want to build a mid-tier silver company. I think there's a real opportunity to build something. When I started this company, 6-7 years ago, that was the goal. I had looked for something, early stage. I could grow through acquisition, grow through ounces in the ground, and grow through production, minimizing dilution. And I didn't find anything out there, so I decided to build it. And La Guitarra is definitely step one for us. I think we can probably almost get to mid-tier status just with this one asset. But, we've been looking pretty aggressively. Prices have gone up, I can promise you that. But there isn't a huge amount. I know a lot of the bigger companies are looking for a lot of ounces on an annual basis. We're, a little bit, we can look at the smaller end of that curve. So I think there's more opportunity for us. But if I'm able to get another, 2 to 3 La Guitarra size projects in terms of production profile, I'd like to do that. So we're doing due diligence at all times. We got pretty close in a couple of them, and we're continuing to look. No guarantee. We love La Guitarra. We think it's a pretty special asset, and the exploration potential, I haven't seen anything like that in Mexico outside of where we are. We truly feel it's the largest undeveloped silver district in Mexico. So fully concentrating on that, but always looking at other projects and other opportunities, because there's some out there, and we do have the production team. We have, the locals. It's a full Mexican team outside of myself and Ken and Greg. Otherwise, it's all Mexican. So
Now, I can
really
verify
good
that actually, because
relationships.
I was
Yeah.
wandering around with a lot of Mexicans talking Spanish, which wouldn't sound terribly good at, but so I
After
heard
2 weeks, you
quite
should
a
have been fluent, right?
But I mean, so you have obviously you've been able to raise debt packages actually, which is always really good. But I mean, how much with the organic expansion, possible acquisition? I mean, that obviously changes everything completely. How do you feel? What is your sort of cash position, debt position? How do you feel about your cap structure? You've also got some actually very good shareholders, haven't you? You've got I know Sprot's on there. I think Franklin Templeton's on there. Commodity Capital, First Majestic. It's a pretty good list actually.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. So we did a large equity raise in the middle of summer, which again hasn't happened in a number of years. Like this summer, we've seen a lot of capital raisings. I know you guys have been involved in a number of them, some big ones as well. So it's a bull market for sure. So we were at a position very early in the summer in July where, we probably could have done our full expansion plans, which I'm happy to get into, a little bit here out of cash flows, but it would have taken, a couple of years, to be honest. We're making a little bit of money and we'll make more money, but the ability to raise some capital and to expedite that process made a lot of sense. So we ended up shooting kind of 10 to 15 million. Order book was well over 30, so it ended up taking 19 and a half. And that was led, as you mentioned, by Franklin Templeton. They really like the expansion plan and love the exploration potential. So they came in. Eric Sprott came in for 3 million, and management and founders. So we did another 2 million, and then another 2 million from Commodity Capital. And before you know it, the order book was pretty filled within a few hours of announcing. So it was great. That capital, what it's going to allow us to do, in essence, is double, perhaps triple production over the next 2 years. So we've got into the market now that we want to hit 750 to 800 tons per day by Q2 of 2026. So pretty close here. We're at 500 tons per day. So that's going to add 50% production. And then by Q3 of 2027, so 23, 24 months away, we want to be at 12 to 1500 tons per day. So the opportunity to even triple our current production. Once you get to that point, should be 2.5, 3 million ounces of silver equivalent per year. You're kind of getting into that mid-tier status. And obviously your costs and everything come down. What's also great about the capital we raise is it's really going to bring down our AISC, so our all-in sustaining costs. We've been renting a lot of equipment, so we've now purchased quite a bit of equipment. So a lot of it is used. You went down there. It's not a Ferrari by any means. It's a good, reliable Ford, and the equipment we're buying is used majority, which is absolutely fine. In mining, equipment becomes used within 6 days anyway. So it's not a huge deal as long as your mechanics are on side and equipment's in good shape. So we're going to do that. And that's going to drop in our AISC by $3-4 an ounce. So pretty substantial going from rental to our own fleet. And we're still catching up in development. So we're still pushing forward. We went into production much quicker than expected and still catching up in development. But that should be completed by the end of the year. Once that happens, I think your cash flows, especially if silver and gold stay at these prices, should be quite good.
And just picking up on that point, you want to increase your production. You've got, I don't take this wrong, you've got a standard, what I describe as production plant there, or process plant. You're coming in, you're crushing, you're floating. I mean, it is a pretty simple flow sheet in truth. Again, I'm not belittling it at all, Alex, but how much work have you got to do to the actual process plant to actually increase the production to those sort of levels?
It's very little, to be honest. Yeah, we're quite fortunate. So when you're there, you probably saw the flotation tanks. There is a bunch of empty ones. So it's probably good for 12 to 1500 tons per day by itself. We have 2 filter presses. We're only using 1. So again, our capacity is about 12 to 1500 tons per day. So the planned bottleneck is really a ball mill. We'll be adding one of those. There's space for one. We had one that didn't work, so we actually sold it, and we'll be ordering a new one, a much larger one than we had planned. But that's a good thing. It's always good to overbuild a little bit here, and it gives a bit of flexibility. And then the other side of things is a new cone crusher. Again, a cone crusher isn't very expensive. We're talking $150,000 US installed, including electronics, including new conveyor belts, things like that. So POs are coming out there. We should have news on that in the next couple of months that upgrades are starting to happen. So it's very, very simple. And that gets us up to 750, 800. And then when we go to 12 to 1500, it's a very similar process. So we duplicate the crushing circuit. It's another jaw crusher, and then we'll replace one of the smaller ball mills. So in terms of plant capability, that's really easy. That's not really expensive. But the true bottleneck is probably the tailings. You always want to be ahead on your tailings, and we're going to do that. So we're building a concentrator right now, which will allow us to do a paste backfill underground. I know you went underground, but there's over 40 or 50 kilometers of tunnels underground and empty stopes. So what'll be nice is we'll be able to put 300 to 500 tons per day into the underground, freeing up our tailing space. And then we go to the much larger expansion. We will build out at least phase one of a new tailings impoundment, which is fully permitted. It's 5.8 million tons, which gives us a lot of years of space. So once that's complete, which should be we'll start it this time next year, that'll let us get up to 12 to 1500. So it's a pretty straightforward process. We feel we'll be able to do everything out of cash flows and the capital we raised. So we're sitting in a pretty decent position right now. Again,
I did go underground. I went underground in one of your new pieces of equipment, Alex. Your nice little trucks, the red trucks. So
yeah,
you just bought. I think you spent too much money on them, but they were very good. And I mean, just going back quickly over the process part, as you say, the flotation tanks. Actually, they were very impressive. Your flotation tanks, very nicely placed, big long line of them. So there's plenty there.
Yeah.
Just one quick. Do you need some more presses?
No, we have two, and we're just using one of them right now. So we have another one, and if you need,
I didn't see the other one. I only saw the one.
Yeah, they're right beside each other. We're just using one, but a filter press at the most is $200,000-$300,000. I don't think we'll need one. It's actually the same as if you're pressing olive oil or canola oil. It's quite interesting. So there's obviously a lot available in Mexico.
So it's all in plan, shall we say, which is always good to hear.
All in plan, and we've always kind of underpromised on where we're going to get to, and it's really important to set those timelines and then achieve them. And I think we've done that every step of the way over the last couple of years, and I think that's built a bit of a following, which is good. So we're going to hopefully do it again.
Well, look, Alex, thanks for coming over, chat. It was a fascinating site visit, and clearly your stock price is performing well. And I think there's still, as you say, there's actually so much more opportunity here. It's always frightening when you look at the stock price. You go, oh God, it's up 300%. Dare I buy it? But actually, there's still plenty of upside, and the silver price, I think, is still going a lot higher. So fingers crossed, all goes well, and you will become, as you say, a mid-tier company. And I think you have the capability. So thanks for coming over, chat. If people have got further questions, do get in touch with us at VSA, or do get in touch with Alex directly. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks again for coming to site. We really enjoyed having you.